I'm David Mikhail, Director of Mikhail Riches Architects. I'm going to try and keep this to 10 minutes talking about three councils building social housing: the City of Norwich, the London Borough of Hackney, and York City Council. This is us. It's probably Mikhail Riches, and it's probably no accident that most of our best work has been for local authorities. They seem to be the ones asking much more of their housing than most house builders. And I think for local authorities, new housing can shine a light on the art of the possible. But specifically, it can also meet local needs. This is Goldsmith Street. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about this. I've got no photograph as charming as yours, Leo, but this was started, though, in a competition we won in 2009. An RIBA competition. We were thrilled to win it. Accordia had just won the Sterling Prize for private housing in Cambridge. And I remember the first client meeting with Andrew Turnbull, our client, in a pub in Norwich, where he turned to me and he said, "We're expecting you to win the Sterling Prize, David, right?" I said, "You're joking, right?" It was with great delight that we were able to win it many years later in 2019. But in 2012, the project was pulled because Lehman Brothers happened. We all remember that, I hope. And their development partners tried to VE the scheme. They tried to chuck us off. A scheme was tabled with cul-de-sacs and PVC windows, and luckily for us, Andrew and Norwich decided to put it on hold till 2014, when we got a call saying it's now just council-led. There are no development partners. It's just the council, and it's all going to be socially rented. And could you make it fully certified passive house? I was like, yeah, of course we could. That'd be lovely. Andrew, interestingly, had a conversation with his team about how to deliver this, and decided that, unbelievably, a traditional JCT contract was the way to ensure quality and to deliver passive house, which requires quite a high degree of skill. And interestingly, we were able to deliver this project, and I think this is an important point for people. Using a JCT traditional contract, not D&B, we were able to deliver it on time and to a budget of £1,825 a square metre. And that's for incredibly high quality build and for the kind of air tightness that gets you passive house. So I won't dwell too much on Goldsmith Street because I think we want to talk about other projects, but Goldsmith Street, as well as being fully certified passive house, also has a very strong focus on placemaking, with 14-metre wide streets, unusually narrow, but very much in line with the historic grain of Norwich. And many socially considered spaces such as this, which is a kind of glorified ginnel for taking bins and bikes out, which we formed into something a bit more generous for children to play and to meet. And it's actually one of the most successful spaces in the whole project. To meet the density of the brief, which was 84 dwellings per hectare, we really had to combine houses with flats. But we wanted to provide flats which were like big houses at the end of terraces rather than blocks of flats. So we developed typologies where there are no communal staircases or lifts. Every flat above ground floor has its own front door onto the street. Now that keeps service charges very low. It means every resident, whether they're in a flat or a house, has a really generous area of storage on the ground floor for bikes, shoes, buggies. So that's Goldsmith Street, finished in 2019. I'm going to move on to Hackney. So in 2017, we were invited to compete for a couple of car park sites for the Hackney Housing Delivery Programme. And all these sites were, both of the sites we looked at here were close to tower blocks. very strong local communities, and the site, Buckland Street on the left, had a series of amazing plane trees. So Buckland Street and Wimborne Street combined deliver 113 new homes for Hackney residents across 2 sites. And I think it's fair to say they're 50% affordable, a mixture of socially rented and so-called affordable, and the rest are private sale to help pay for it. But the mayor at the time made a promise to residents that he wasn't going to build on green space, so this is all car parks and Ashfelt that we're building on. So, you know, we struggled long and hard with the brief, which called for a certain number of homes on a very constrained site, and we really wanted to keep those trees because they're so lovely. And but space was tight. To the south is a tower block that you saw earlier in the photograph. So to optimise the site, to keep the trees, to give every flat dual aspect, we came up with a series of mansion blocks, if you like, 3 of them, all of which kind of gently curve around the root protection areas and the crowns of the existing trees. Now this is a recent video. Let's see if we can play it. That's from site a few weeks ago. So these projects are all on site now, due to be delivered this year and next. So that's the south-facing facade, and this is the north facade coming up, which is curved around the trees. Prefabricated brick on concrete factory-made panels, delivered and craned on site, which has led to some masticing challenges, but anyway, there we go. I'm really excited by this project. Oh, no, don't want that. Next one. So the other, Wimborne Street, is currently on site. Also, here we had the opportunity of building flats overlooking Shoreditch Park. Again, sitting back from an existing tree, trying to reduce the sheer decibels of New North Road, so a noisy street, but also by sitting back we were able to reveal a really lovely building you can see on the left on the corner of Wimborne Street. And I really like the photograph on the right, which shows the 2 projects making a new kind of streetscape. Project and the photograph on the left shows the view from the park, so it's taking shape. So that's Hackney. I've only got 10 minutes, so I'm going to be really brief. This isn't the time for deep diving. We were on holiday when we spotted the brief for this, the most compelling brief we'd seen in a long time, so we ended up spending a holiday working through the tender questions, which you can imagine was a delight. But it was 700 homes across multiple sites. We would be, if we were chosen, one architect-led multi-disc team with our own team put together to deliver for York's housing delivery programme, headed up by Michael Jones, who had previously been with Rowntree, delivering Derwentthorpe, another lovely project. We were so energised by the questions, we actually enjoyed writing the bid, would you believe? And our first task with them, interestingly, wasn't to design anything, it was to help them compile what they call the design manual, which was seen as, you know, a short, pithy document which would set the bar for the York community of developers and housing associations. Newly elected Green councillors in 2019 then influenced the brief too. They asked for us to see if we could hit net zero carbon in operation all within the red line boundary. Incredibly challenging. And that's based on the RIBA and Letty model of net zero. I'm going to walk you through some of the schemes now. This is Duncan Barracks. It's a square site. We've developed it as a series of flats, walk-up flats, similar to Goldsmith Street, but kind of combined into a kind of pavilion in the middle. Walk-up flats front onto the street, and behind it are terraces of houses facing onto a shared play space courtyard, very reminiscent of a nearby almshouse over the road. Some of the elevations there. And these are some pictures from site this month. So simple forms, a lot of care taken in material specification and detailing. And again, I should stress, this is passive house, but with knobs on. So this is passive house and enough generation of power on site to deliver net zero. This is Burnholme, 78 homes, 5 of which are self-build. Again, a series of 14-metre wide streets which share some of the DNA of Goldsmith Street, but making it a bit more York, with some really innovative typologies which have been nuanced around local needs in particular. So, for example, this is an end of Terrace House which satisfies, there's a very celebrated special needs school just over the road where children are currently being bussed in from as far away as Scarborough. And so this is a house, a series of houses which are M43 over 3 stories. There's also a bungalow typology for the older generation and a multi-generational house type with a 4-bed duplex sitting above a 1-bed flat. And here's some site photographs taken recently. Ordnance Lane, again, another major site. It's just out for tender. It's coming back this month. We're waiting with bated breath. That's 85 homes, much closer to the city centre, and also involving some refurbishment of historic buildings as well as new housing. And that's a view into the urban orchard. Finally, because it is just 10 minutes, how are we doing?
You've gone over.
Oh God, so I'll just very briefly...
It's quite all right if you just want to...
I'm wrapping up. This is the last...
It's very hard to interrupt a Sterling Prize winner, everybody.
So don't. So finally, we're delighted to have won this with York, which is for just inside the city walls. And it's 37 homes, and a project called Willow House. And there we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.